She always left the porch light on. Even on nights like this, dead quiet, no breeze, no footsteps except mine, there it was, casting a soft yellow ring over the chipped tiles and that old potted fern she never watered but wouldn't throw out. I never knocked. I don't know why. Maybe because she always knew when I was coming. Maybe because some part of me liked waiting until she opened the door on her own terms. She did tonight too. Just a click, and then her face. Half-shadowed, half-lit, like she hadn't made up her mind yet about being seen. "You're late," she said. But not like she meant it. "I brought the envelope," I said, holding it up. She didn't take it. Instead, she stepped aside and nodded toward the living room. That meant stay a while. That meant the envelope could wait. It's strange how some houses don't feel like they belong to the person living in them. Hers felt like her. Dim lighting, warm wood furniture, faint smell of lavender, and always something soft playing in the background, like a piano or the rain. She sat on the couch, not in the middle where she usually did, but closer to one side, closer to where I'd end up sitting. That threw me off more than I'd admit. I took the spot beside her, careful to leave just enough space between us. Not that it mattered. She always found a way to erase distance, without moving. She glanced at the envelope still in my hand. "Keep it." "What?" She looked at me then, fully. Her eyes didn't blink as much as they should have. Like she wasn't afraid of being read, only of what might get revealed by mistake. "I don't care about the rent anymore," she said. The room felt suddenly smaller. I laughed. Lightly. Stupidly. "That's not really how landlording works." She didn't smile. Just tilted her head slightly, studying me. "You fix the broken things. You take your shoes off without being told. You look people in the eyes when they talk." Her voice softened. "That's rare, you know." I didn't say anything. I think I stopped breathing a little. She picked at the hem of her cardigan. Tiny motion. Barely there. Her nails were unpainted, her hands quiet and careful. They looked like they could either hold you together or push you away without leaving a mark. "I had a tenant once," she said, voice drifting now. "He stayed 2 months. Told me I talked too little and made rooms too cold." I turned slightly toward her. "And what do I do?" "You stay," she said. Then quieter. "Even when I don't make it easy." I looked down at her hand. It was resting close to mine on the cushion. Close enough that if either of us moved an inch. She noticed. Pulled her hand back slowly. Not rushed. Just enough to say not yet. I nodded like I understood. But I didn't. We sat there for a long moment, not talking. Her eyes were fixed on something behind me, or maybe nothing at all. Then she stood. I thought she was leaving the room, but she only moved to the doorway, where the hall met the living room, where the shadows began. She turned, leaned lightly against the frame, arms crossed. "You're always here late," she said. I shrugged. "You always leave the light on." She didn't reply. But her lips parted like she might. Then didn't. She just stood there, longer than she needed to. Longer than was comfortable. And I realized I was holding the envelope still, my hand stiff, my breath shallow. When she finally stepped away, I said, too quietly, "Would you turn it off, if I ever stopped coming?" She paused. Back still to me. Then, just before she disappeared down the hall, "I don't think I could." The next evening, I brought over a screwdriver. She'd mentioned the loose cabinet hinge in passing last week. I don't know why I remembered that. Or why I needed an excuse. She wasn't surprised to see me. Just raised one eyebrow and said, "Fixing things again?" I shrugged. "Keeps me useful." She didn't move out of the doorway, so I had to brush past her to enter. Just a sliver of contact, my arm grazing hers. But it jolted something deep and quiet in me. Like a reminder I didn't ask for. The cabinet was in the kitchen. She leaned against the counter while I knelt, tightening the screw like it mattered more than anything else in the world. I could feel her eyes on me. She wasn't subtle, but she wasn't cruel either. There was a gentleness in the way she watched me, like she was trying to see past something. You always this helpful? She asked. Only with people who leave porch lights on. She laughed at that. It surprised her, I think. It surprised me more. Something shifted after that, small but sure. The room felt less like her territory and more like something shared. You're not from here, she said after a while. Nope. Running from something? I didn't look up. More like drifting. She didn't press. Just let the silence grow between us. It wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like a held breath. Then she said, I was married. Once. I sat back on my heels, finally meeting her eyes. He wanted kids. I wanted quiet, she said. Didn't end well. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't. She walked to the sink, filled 2 glasses with water, handed me one. There was a moment, when her fingers brushed mine, that I thought maybe this was the kind of story you only get once. The kind that doesn't start loud, doesn't promise anything, but lingers, deepens, becomes something else before either of you notice. She sat across from me at the small table. We didn't speak. I noticed her sweater sleeve had a frayed cuff. I almost reached for it, don't ask me why, but I didn't. People look at us weird, I said finally. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Let them. I don't mind, I added then quickly. I mean, just saying. She looked at me then, really looked. Like I was the one who'd said too much this time. You remind me of someone, she said. Only, you listen more. I felt my chest tighten. Someone good? Someone I ruined. She stood up like that meant the conversation was over. And maybe it was. But before she walked away, she touched my shoulder briefly. It wasn't much. Just enough to leave heat where her fingers had been. I'll make tea, she said over her shoulder. And then she was gone. I sat there, not moving, not breathing. Tea. That was nothing. But coming from her, it felt like everything. And the hinge I'd fixed? Still squeaked when I closed the cabinet. The tea had gone cold, but we were still sitting there. Same kitchen. Same table. Just closer now. Not in inches, those hadn't changed, but in something less visible. The kind of closeness you feel in your chest before you even realize you've leaned in. She had taken her hair down. Said it gave her a headache. But I'd never seen her like that before, looser. Softer. I asked her something stupid. Something I didn't mean to ask. Was he older than you? She blinked. Who? Your ex. She took a long sip, maybe to stall. 7 years. Why? No reason. But there was. Of course there was. She gave me a look, dry, amused, sharp. That's not much. I held her gaze. What is? Her smile faded, just slightly. This. We didn't say more. I noticed a curl of her hair had fallen over her cheek. I don't know what made me do it. But I reached across and gently tucked it behind her ear. My hand lingered. Her skin was warm, too warm. She didn't pull away. Not right away. When she did, it was slow. Not rejection, just retreat. I should sleep, she said, standing. She didn't mean it. Not yet. Her hand was still on the chair back. Her body tilted toward me like it hadn't decided which direction to choose. I stood too fast. My leg bumped the table. She laughed once under her breath. Then quieter. This is a mistake. I know. But neither of us moved. Then, like fate needed a laugh, her phone rang. Sharp. Loud. Out of place. She didn't answer it. Just stared at the screen for a beat too long. Friend? I asked. No, she said. Then, like an afterthought, used to be my husband's number. That shouldn't have hit me the way it did. I looked down. She noticed. Her voice softened. It's not like that. He still calls. When he remembers. I didn't ask why she hadn't blocked him. I didn't want to know. The phone stopped. Silence came back. And then something strange happened. She stepped closer. Almost without thinking. Or maybe she thought too much and did it anyway. "I don't know what I'm doing," she whispered. "You don't have to." And for a second, for the space of a heartbeat, I thought she was going to kiss me. She didn't. But her forehead touched mine. Light. Hesitant. Like she needed to feel another human without crossing whatever line we both knew was there. Her breath was warm. I closed my eyes. She pulled away first. "I'm sorry," she said. I said nothing. I didn't want her to be sorry. She walked me to the door. Stopped short. Fingers brushed my hand again, by accident. Maybe. Then she opened it. Cold night air hit me harder than it should have. I stepped out. She didn't say goodbye. She just looked at me like she already regretted something she hadn't done. And as I walked down the steps, pulse too loud in my ears, I told myself the truth I didn't want to face. I knew I shouldn't be feeling this, but I was. I told myself I wouldn't go tonight. But around 9:30, I was pacing in my room with my keys already in my hand. I didn't even have an excuse this time. No cabinet hinge, no forgotten envelope, no tea. Just her. And when I knocked, she didn't answer right away. I almost left. But then the door opened, and there she was. In a black sweater, loose at the collar, barefoot. She looked surprised. "You came." I couldn't tell if that was disappointment or relief. "You didn't leave the light on," I said. She stepped aside. "I didn't think you'd need it." The living room was darker than usual. Just a table lamp on, casting long shadows. A half-drunk glass of wine sat on the coffee table. Jazz played low from the speaker, smoky, slow, almost tired. I sat on the edge of the couch. She stayed standing. "You look tired," I said. Her eyes flicked toward me. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why?" "Because it sounds like you care." There was something brittle in her voice. Like if I touched it wrong, it'd break. I didn't reply. Just watched her. She sat finally, not next to me, across, in the armchair. Like distance could still save us. Then she said it. "People are starting to talk, you know." My stomach tightened. "Who? Does it matter?" Her voice was calm, but her hands weren't. She kept twisting the edge of her sleeve, over and over again. "This town isn't big. You walk out of here late. You linger. I don't care what people, well, I do. That shut me up." She sighed, covering her face with one hand. "God, I shouldn't have let this go this far." "It hasn't gone anywhere," I said, sharper than I meant to. She looked at me then. Fully. And I saw it, the crack. The thing she tried to hold together with all her grace and calm and practiced detachment. It slipped. "Don't do that," she whispered. "What?" "Pretend you don't know what's happening." I stood. Not because I wanted to leave, but because I needed air, space, something. She stood too, instantly. "You come here like you belong here," she said, stepping closer. "You fix things, you stay late, you touch my hair like it means nothing." It didn't mean nothing. The words were out before I could pull them back. Her mouth parted slightly. A breath caught. And then it happened. I reached for her wrist, not roughly, just enough to make her stop, to make her stay in this moment with me. "Tell me to go," I said, voice low. "Just once. Tell me, and I won't come back." She didn't move. She didn't say it. The space between us collapsed. Her breath touched my jaw. My hand still on her wrist, hers trembling now, but not pulling away. And then, barely audible, "Don't go." We kissed. Not like in the movies. No music. No perfect angle. Just mouths too close for too long, and then a moment too honest to stop. She leaned in first, barely. I met her there, eyes still open, afraid if I blinked she'd vanish. And maybe she did, a little, because the second it ended, barely 10 seconds of heat and ache and everything we'd pretended wasn't happening, she pulled back like she touched fire. She stepped away fast, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. "I shouldn't have done that," she said. I stood still, afraid to breathe wrong. Her arms wrapped around herself. Not cold, guarded. I need you to forget that happened, she whispered. I blinked. You don't mean that. She didn't answer. I sat back down, the couch groaning under me like it knew something had shifted. My palms were sweaty. My chest was tight. And then, her phone buzzed again. She didn't look at it right away. Just stared at the floor. When she did, she cursed softly. One of the only times I'd heard her do that. I asked quietly. Him? She nodded. Didn't say his name. You said you were divorced? She looked at me then, finally. And I saw it. I said I was married, she said. I never said it was over. It took a full 5 seconds before I could speak. You still live together? No, she said quickly. But he's still in the picture. Financially. Emotionally. In ways I can't explain. My throat felt dry. So what am I? She closed her eyes. A mistake I wanted to make. That hurt more than I expected. She sat down again, across from me this time. Not beside me. Like she was rewriting the rules mid-game. I lost everything when I left him, she said. Family. Reputation. Stability. I told myself I needed peace. Quiet. That's what I've been building here. I nodded slowly. And I'm not quiet. No, she said. You're loud without even trying. We both laughed, once. Tired. Sad. Silence followed. Not the kind that asks to be filled. The kind that warns you not to speak too soon. After a long stretch, I said, I've been offered a job. Out of town. Her head jerked slightly, but she didn't speak. Starts next month, I added. She nodded, eyes focused somewhere just over my shoulder. I haven't decided yet, I said. I didn't tell you because I didn't want that to be the reason you kept me here. Her voice came low. And if I asked you to stay? I looked at her, tried to read her face, but it was all quiet. Still. Beautiful. Torn. I don't want to be another thing you lose, I said. She flinched, just slightly. Then, I don't want to ask you to stay, she whispered. But I don't want you to go either. We sat like that. Both barely breathing. Somewhere between leaving and staying. Somewhere between almost and already too far. I didn't come by for 3 days. Not because I didn't want to. God, I did. But the silence between us had grown teeth. And I didn't know if I was supposed to run or let it bite. When I finally showed up, no warning, no excuse, she didn't open the door right away. For a second, I thought she might not open it at all. Then the lock turned. Slowly. Carefully. She looked tired. Her hair was pulled back, sweater sleeves stretched over her hands. You left, she said. You didn't ask me to stay. She stepped aside. I entered. No words exchanged. Just quiet. We stood in the kitchen, either of us reaching for the chairs. I keep thinking, I said finally. Maybe if I were older. More settled. Maybe this would be easier for you. She shook her head. No. That's not it. Then what is it? Her eyes welled, but nothing fell. You make me feel everything I've worked years to forget. I swallowed hard. Is that a bad thing? It's a terrifying thing, she said. You show up with those wide eyes and kind hands, and you see parts of me I've buried so deep I forgot they were mine. Her voice broke slightly, and I hated how beautiful it sounded even when it cracked. I want you, she said. I want to know what it's like to fall asleep with you, to let someone in again. But I don't know how this can work. I stepped closer. Then let's figure it out. Together. She looked up at me like I was offering something she'd already decided she didn't deserve. I don't need promises, I said. I don't need forever. What do you need? She whispered. I hesitated. Then, to not feel like I'm the only one willing to try. Her lips parted. Her fingers twitched like they wanted to reach for me. But she didn't move. I've spent so long being alone on purpose, she said. Now that someone's here, it's like I've forgotten how to open the door without bracing for a storm. You don't have to open it all the way. She looked at me for a long time. Then, she stepped back. Not away. Just far enough to breathe. She crossed the room, picked up a blanket from the chair, folded it slowly, like it gave her time to think. I can't promise this will be easy, she said. I don't want easy, I replied. She turned, eyes searching mine. I'm tired of losing things. I took a step forward. Then don't lose me. Another silence. But this one wasn't sharp. It was soft. Full. Waiting. She walked to the front door. Opened it. But instead of motioning me out, she left it ajar. Then, without facing me. If you're staying, you should close the door behind you. She didn't look at me when she said it. If you're staying, you should close the door behind you. And I did. Not right away. I stood there for a moment longer than I should have, hand on the frame, listening to the soft sounds of her house, our silence, the creak of the floor, the weight of everything finally shifting. Then I closed it. Not with force. Just enough to say I'm here. She didn't move, not until she heard the click. Then she turned around, still guarded, but something in her shoulders softened. You're sure? She asked. No, I said, honest. But I'm here anyway. She nodded like that was enough. We didn't rush anything after that. We sat on the floor of her living room that night. No wine, no jazz, just mugs of weak tea and an old blanket between us. Our knees brushed once, and neither of us moved away. I thought I broke something in you, she said quietly. After the kiss. After what I said. You didn't, I said. You just showed me where it hurt. She looked away, biting the edge of her thumb. A habit I'd noticed but never mentioned. I've loved people I couldn't keep, she said. I don't want to do that again. I reached over then, slow, careful, and touched her hand. You don't have to keep me, I whispered. Just meet me halfway. She didn't cry. But her fingers gripped mine tighter than I expected. That's how it began. Not with a kiss. Not with some dramatic confession. Just two people, different in years, similar in loneliness, finally letting themselves want something again. Weeks passed. I never took the job. She never asked why. But she started leaving the light on again. Every night. Sometimes I'd be the one to turn it off, after brushing my teeth with her spare toothbrush, folding my shirt over the back of her chair, listening to her hum as she made morning coffee. One night, we were brushing our teeth side by side. She caught my eye in the mirror and smiled without saying anything. That's the moment I knew. We weren't fixing anything broken. We were building something new. It's not the kind of love story people talk about loudly. But it's real. It's two people meeting in the middle of all their fear, their age, their history, and still saying, I'll try. And sometimes, that's more than enough.